Hi there, Davey Cretin here from Cretin Classics. Unfortunately, I really don't want to make this video, but I feel that I should. I just got home from work and I'm going to do a fast tribute video here to the late great Richard Lewis. Many of you know Richard Lewis from his work on the mainly improvised show, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Larry David's show. Now it turns out that Larry David and Richard Lewis, they were both born in New York, and they met, I think it was in camp. And then they met again years later, and they hated each other when they met each other in camp. And years later, when they were both stand-up comedians, they met each other again and said, "Hey, I know you from camp." Oddly enough, this time they became fast friends, and they've basically been inseparable ever since. So they're on the 12th season of Curb Your Enthusiasm right now, and Richard Lewis has been actually in this 12th season, even though he's been suffering from Parkinson's disease for a while. And you could tell if you watch closely over the years that he's looked a little worse for wear as the show has progressed, unfortunately. But being the superstar and the great talent that he is, he persevered and he kept working. So Richard Lewis is a true mensch, was a true mensch, I'm sorry to say, and he was a comedy legend. He started doing stand-up comedy in the 70s, so for over 50 years he's been in the business. He just passed at 76 from a heart attack, so 50 years in this business, not bad. Besides being known for stand-up comedy and his work on Curb Your Enthusiasm, of course, he was also on a show that lasted a bunch of years, at least 3 or 4 seasons, if not more, on ABC in the 90s, I think it was. It was called Anything But Love, and Richard Lewis was the male lead. The female lead was Jamie Lee Curtis, and they played newspaper reporters or writers for a magazine, and their boss, the editor, the actress, Ann Magnuson, from the cult New York City band Bongwater. So another New York person, Richard Lewis from New York, and Magnuson from New York. And it was a funny sitcom on ABC. I used to watch it because I've always been a big Richard Lewis fan. And luckily, my friend Joe and I think it was in the 90s sometime, I'd really have to look up the date, but Joe and I were lucky enough to see Richard Lewis perform stand-up comedy at Westbury Music Fair in Westbury, Long Island, New York. And I remember that most comedians have a stool on stage where they either sit or have their bottled water that they drink from when they get a big laugh. And Richard Lewis, on his stool, he had a big card. I think it was a big cardboard or a bunch of papers. I can't remember which. And it had notes on it for the show. And he kept referring to his notes because the way his comic mind worked, he was so fast that he had to center himself and use his notes to work from. So he'd get a good laugh, he'd go over to his notes and figure out what he was going to say next. And he was very funny, and I'm glad that I got to see him perform before he passed away. So Richard Lewis, you'll be missed by your many fans all over the world because HBO was global, and a lot of people know the great show Curb Your Enthusiasm. They know him from stand-up, they know him from his movie appearances, his other TV appearances, his great talk show appearances with David Letterman, probably Leno and the whole crew, Carson, because he'd been doing it for years. He was on the Carson show, the big kahuna, Johnny Carson. So Richard Lewis, you'll be missed by your fans, your family, and your close personal friends. So thank you for all the laughs, and thank you for watching, and rest in peace, Richard Lewis. Thank you. This is Davey Cretin from Cretin Classics signing off saying thanks for watching. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.